Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We have a good one today. But first, I want to say hello to everybody who's here. I guess I should pull the chat up in front of me to do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Number 2, Quest Fanning is here. Good to see you, Quest Fanning. There's a dog here on my microphone. I'm glad when Quest can make it for sure. And he's got the treats going already. Thank you so much, Quest. Ron is here. Good to see you, Ron. Parson, of course. It's no football this week, so people are actually here. That's good news. I actually just rescheduled what I'm going to do next week for the following week because I was going to have a big show next week and then realized it was the Super Bowl and thought better of that because there'll be 2 people here because the Super Bowl's on. Pokey, Master of Railroads. Sparky. I'm glad you could make it live, Sparky. I know you usually are part of the replay crew, so it's good to see you live. Society Red. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but that's who's here right now. We will revisit. We'll give the doggos who are here a couple of treats from Quest Fanning right now. And then about halfway through, we'll take another break. And then again at the end. So just so you guys know, if you do make a donation at any time during the stream, the doggos get some little mini milk bones. Aren't they cute? And we appreciate that. You also get entered into the drawing to win some fun stuff. So, since Quest donated first thing, we have Leia here today as well as Zena. So we will give Leia, also known as Samuel L. Jackson, because she sort of looks like Samuel L. Jackson, a milk bone right now. And then we'll get into the story of Aileen Wuornos. Have you heard of her? It's a crazy story, and it's not at all what I thought. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Trust me, it's not what you think. All right, Zena. Can you do it? Yes, you can do a shake. That's for Mr. Quest Fanning. You remember him? Samuel L. Jackson. Hi. That's for you. And I'm back. Thank you, Quest. I appreciate it. Okay, 2 more from Ron, and then we'll get into the story. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Do a touch. No, do touch. Thank you. Here's one for you. Snacks for the girls. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And hello to everybody over there on Rumble. Good to see you guys. I didn't forget about you today. You're over here on this screen. I see you there. So we're going to Michigan today. We're going to end up in Florida, though, so be careful. Like, you know what happens in Florida. But we're starting in Michigan, in a little town called Rochester, Michigan. I should get my notes up so I'm not just doing this from memory. It's like a 15-page notes this time. So doing it from memory would not be good for you or me. So Aileen Carol Pittman, excuse me, was born on February 29th, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. A leap year baby. I wonder, do we have any leap year babies in the chat? Do I have anybody who listens to my show that was born on February 29th? I always thought that was so fascinating. There was a girl in my class that when I was little, who was a leap year baby, and we would, make fun of her because she would, only has a birthday every 4 years or whatever. Anyway, not make fun of her, but like, you know how kids do. So Aileen Wuornos was also a leap year baby. She was born to her mother, Diane Wuornos, her mom was born in 1939. Diane was 14 years old when she married Aileen's father, 18-year-old Leo Pittman. On June 3rd, She married him on June 3rd, 1954. Like I said, she was 14, he was 18. I don't know if I mind that as much as, remember that one case we covered where, which one was that? It was the Amber Alert one, where the mom was like 18, had Amber when she was 18, and the dad was like 39 or something like that. That's a bit much, right? This is not so bad, although her parents were very bad, so maybe I'll take that back. Uh, Diane gave birth to Aileen at the age of 16. Aileen never met her father. Her father skedaddled right after Aileen's mom got pregnant with her. So this is outside of Detroit. So there's Detroit down here, and Rochester's up here. We don't want to get into that yet. Y'all saw the map. We'll just go back to my face. In 1967, Leo Pittman was sentenced to life imprisonment for kidnapping and raping a 7-year-old girl. This is her dad, guys. She never met her dad, which is good, right? I mean, it's not good that you don't meet your dad, but you know what I mean. While he was in prison, her dad was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he committed suicide by hanging in prison in January of 1969. In January of 1960, when Wuornos was almost 4 years old, Diane, her mom, abandoned her children. She brought her kids over to her mom and dad's house, and just to babysit or whatever, and just took off and never came back. So Aileen remembers her mom, but not very well when she's growing up. Both of her parents were alcoholics as well. And like I said, her dad had schizophrenia. So I'm just trying to let you know the background where this woman is coming from. I'm not trying to, there's a lot of stuff we're going to get into at the beginning of the show. And I just want to make a disclosure, I guess, that none of the things I say are to excuse her for what she did. There's no excuse, but I think it helps to understand where she comes from, to understand how she got to where she is, if that makes sense. So Lori and Britta Wuornos were her grandparents. They were also both alcoholics who legally adopted Keith, which is Aileen's brother, and Aileen on March 18th, 1960. Lori worked at a Pontiac factory in Detroit, and Britta was a housewife. They were both of Finnish descent, which is why they have weird names. I don't know why I added that in there, just because the name Lori for a man sounded weird to me. So Lori would sexually abuse Diane. Remember, Diane is his daughter, Aileen's mom. There's like a whole convoluted family tree in here, so I'm sorry if we're not following, but it's very difficult. So Lori, Aileen's grandfather, would sexually abuse Aileen's mom. Which, why, if that's the home you came from, why would you leave your kids with these people? Is my question. It is unclear if Leo, her biological grandfather, or Leo, her father, or her biological grandfather was actually Aileen's biological father. So nobody knows, because Diane was being sexually abused by both of these men at the same time, who Aileen's actual father is. So her actual father may be her biological grandfather. I told you it was a weird family tree. I warned you. So by the age of 11, some sources that I read said 9 years old, Wuornos started engaging in sexual activities in her school in exchange for cigarettes, drugs, and food, because her grandparents who adopted her and her brother were not taking care of her. She also engaged in sexual activities with her brother. Wuornos said that, this is her words, so take it with a grain of salt, although history does repeat itself. So Wuornos said that her alcoholic grandfather had sexually assaulted and beaten her when she was a child. Before beating her, he would force her to strip out of her clothes and then beat her. Also, it wouldn't go very long in between beatings, so she wouldn't have fully time to heal before he beat her again. So it was just injury on top of injury on top of injury. She was being sexually abused by many people, and she came from a really crap childhood. In 1970, at the age of 14, she became pregnant after a friend of her grandfather's raped her. Wuornos gave birth to a baby boy at a home for unwed mothers on March 23rd, 1971, and the child was immediately taken from her and placed up for adoption. A few months after her son was born, she dropped out of school. So this is at the age of 14, is her highest level of education. At about the same time as all this was happening, her grandmother died of liver failure, probably from the alcoholism, and her grandfather threw her out of the house. She began living in the woods near her home. There was, I guess, I didn't really look too much at the map, but it must be like a wooded areas near here. So she began living in the woods. She built a little shelter out there. Michigan gets really cold in the winter. So living outside in the winter does not sound, in Michigan, does really anywhere, but doesn't sound like a good time. She supported herself through prostitution, which, like I said, she started at the age of 11. When Aileen was 18 years old, she left Michigan. She's like, I can't take another winter. I'm out of here, which was my thoughts exactly when I left Chicago. I can't take another winter. I'm out of here. But I wasn't living in the woods, so a little different. My breaking point was when I shoveled my car out to get to work and a snowplow came through and plowed it back in. That was my breaking point. And I didn't spend another winter in Chicago after that. So she hitchhiked to, first place she went was Jefferson County, Colorado. And we know this from her criminal record. She's got a DUI from Jefferson County, Colorado, disorderly conduct. She fired a .22 caliber pistol from a moving vehicle. Then she got bail for all of that and didn't appear in court. She skipped town. In 1976, she hitchhiked from Colorado to Florida, where she met 69-year-old yacht club president Louis Fell. This is where her whole life could have turned around. Like, she meets this old rich guy. I mean, she was 20 years old at the time. He was almost 70, but he's a rich guy. Her whole life could have turned around at this point, right? It did not. I thought, there they are. There they are. That's Louis Fell and Aileen. And this is their wedding photo that was printed in like a local paper. Unfortunately, well, they got married a few months after they met, but they were unfortunately only married 9 weeks because Aileen hit Louis with his own cane, and he kicked her out of the house and filed a restraining order. Apparently, he was giving her like an allowance to spend every day, but she wanted more money, and like the allowance was like $60 a day or something in like 1976 money. So like a lot of money every day to spend. She wanted more money. They got into a fight about it, and she grabbed his cane and hit him with it. So that marriage didn't last long, 9 weeks. He kicked her out, filed a restraining order. She went back to Michigan. On July 14th, 1976, Aileen was at Bernie's Club and these names of these towns. Macelona, this town, Macelona, Michigan. This is not near where she grew up. When I was first reading it, and I didn't look up where the places were when I was reading the book. It wasn't until I went back and was making these notes that I started looking up the places. I was thinking this was just like another suburb of Detroit, but it's not. It's all the way up here, like north of Traverse City. And she's from like all the way down here near Detroit. So she was up here. She was at this Bernie's Club, it was called. And she threw a cue ball at a bartender's head, which is... it didn't hit the bartender, thank goodness, but she threw it so hard that it stuck in the drywall. That's how hard she threw it. I don't know how hard you have to throw a cue ball at somebody to have it stick in the drywall, but I'm guessing enough to like probably would have killed the person or injured them a lot, you know, if it would have hit the bartender. A few days later, on July 17th, Aileen's brother died. Her older brother died of cancer, but Aileen received $10,000 of 1970s money, or 1976 money, from life insurance. He was in the military, and I guess you automatically get a life insurance policy when you're in the military, and she got $10,000, which I looked up. $10,000 in 1976 is worth about $53,000 today. So a good chunk of change she got. Right after that, just a few days later, so that was July 17th that happened. On July 21st, she gets the paperwork. She gets the paperwork from Lewis annulling their marriage. So one thing after another. Aileen blew through that money in 2 months. She bought a new Pontiac Grand Prix and crashed it almost immediately. I did look up the MSRP of a Pontiac Grand Prix in 1976. It's a gorgeous car. And the MSRP on a new one of those back then was $5,223. I would totally drive that car for $5,000. I kind of want it right now. It's kind of sweet. Look at that. Look at how many bodies you could fit in that trunk. That's probably why she got it. That's like, you'd fit at least 5 or 6 in there. In 1978, at the age of 22, Aileen attempted suicide by shooting herself in the stomach. Between the ages of 14 and 22, she had attempted suicide 6 different times. Yeah, I went down a little rabbit hole about these cars earlier this afternoon. They're really nice looking. All right, let's get a little bit into her criminal record. So I wanted you guys to understand, because we're gonna get into what she did and how she acted. But I wanted you to get a feel of where she came from first. Like I said, not that it's an excuse, but I don't think I've come across another serial killer or criminal. And, you know, it's always nature, nurture, that sort of stuff. But I don't think I've come across another person in doing all this research on these people that had such a horrible childhood as she did. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was every single thing from the time she was born. It wasn't like she had a crap childhood and then she got adopted by a wonderful family. She had a crap childhood. Her father abandoned her. Her mother was an alcoholic who also abandoned her. And then she gets adopted by these grandparents who are also alcoholics, who abuse her, kick her out in the snow, you know? May 20th, 1981, Wuornos was arrested in Edgewater, Florida for armed robbery of a convenience store. She had stolen $35 and 2 packs of cigarettes. She was sentenced to prison. She spent 2 years in prison on May 4th, 1982. If I'm robbing a convenience store and I'm a smoker, why would you only steal 2 packs of cigarettes, first of all? I understand that $35 was probably all they had in the register, but wouldn't you say, like, give me all of whatever brand of cigarettes she smoked? I'm guessing, judging by looking at her, probably Marlboro Reds, if I had to guess. Could have been Newports. I don't know. She sold 2 packs of cigarettes and $35. She actually, even though it was a 2-year sentence, she was released from prison on June 30th, 1983. So a little over a year she spent in prison. On May 1st, 1984, so she was good or didn't get caught from summer of 1983 all the way till the spring of 1984. She was arrested for attempting to pass forged checks at a bank in Key West, Florida. The checks were worth, there was 2 checks, and combined they were worth $5,595, which in today's money, I looked it up and for some reason didn't put it in my notes, but I want to say it was like $16,000 in today's money, which is a lot of money to like pass back. Like, start off with a couple, $100 here, $100 there, $5,000 worth of checks at one time too, by the way. She wasn't a very good criminal is what I'm trying to say. She was not good at this. On November 30th, 1985, she was named as a suspect in the theft of a revolver and ammunition in Pasco County. So she's hopping all around Florida. We were in Key West a second ago. Now we're in Pasco County, which is where my favorite canine dog is from. His name is Shep. He was on I forget the name of the show, that followed police around. Love that dog. On January 4th, 1986, Wuornos was arrested in Miami and charged with car theft, resisting arrest, obstruction of justice, and providing identification bearing her aunt's name. So providing false identification. Miami officers also found a .38 caliber revolver and a box of ammunition in the car. On June 2nd, 1986, in Volusia County, the sheriff's deputy detained Wuornos for questioning after a male companion accused her of pulling out a gun and demanding $200. Now, this story is kind of crazy. So she was with this guy and tried to rob him. He calls the cops. The cops get there. They were in a stolen car, or a car that was reported stolen. It was actually his grandfather's car, but he took it without permission, and the grandfather reported it stolen. So the cops didn't do anything about the armed robbery that she just tried to commit, because they arrested him for having a stolen car and then let her go, which is a little crazy to me. I guess she was more believable. I'm not sure. Or they just thought he was a bad guy. I don't know. Wuornos was found to be carrying spare ammunition, and the police discovered a .22 caliber pistol underneath the passenger seat. So she got arrested for having the gun, but not for the armed robbery. In 1986, she was 30 years old at this time, by the way. She met 24-year-old Tyria Moore, a motel maid at a Daytona Beach gay bar called the Zodiac. Oh, I'm skipping ahead. I thought I had another tab for this part, but apparently I do not. They moved in together, and Wuornos supported them with her earnings from being a prostitute. On July 4th, 1987, Daytona Beach police detained Wuornos and Moore at a bar for questioning regarding an incident where they had been accused of assault and battery with a beer bottle. And on March 12th, 1988. So we're going all the way from, where did we start? It was like 1983 or 1984, all the way to 1988. It's just one thing after another after another. Wuornos was accused a Daytona Beach bus driver of assault. She claimed that he pushed her off the bus following a confrontation. Moore was listed as a witness to the incident. We're going to take a quick break, give the doggos some treats. I saw a few people come in. Quest Fanning again. Thank you very much, Quest. And Miss Mandy, you all go subscribe to Miss Mandy. I was on her show last Thursday. And Quest Fanning again. So 3 treats for each. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 more. 6. Hey guys, I got good news. You got to wake up for it. You got to wake up, guys. Oh, they're up. They're awake. Do a shake. There's one for you. You do a shake. Thank you. Okay. Okay. There's one for you. I'll put it there. Put that there. Thank you. Thank you. Say thank you, Quest and Miss Mandy. Say thank you, Quest and Miss Mandy. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. Okay. And the doggos definitely really appreciate it. For sure. All right, we're getting to the actual murders. We're kind of rolling through this background because I have some videos to play here in a little bit that are going to take a little bit more time. But we don't have very much from before. Also, I really tried to find, I know these men were missing, and I'm sure there has to be news stories from it, but I couldn't find any like local news coverage. I usually try to find, you know, the archive. There's websites that I go to that have like archives, news footage from different places and stuff like that. But I couldn't find any on this case, which is crazy because it's a really well-documented case. It's a pretty famous case, and you would think they'd be archived somewhere or in the usual places. You know what I mean? But I couldn't find them. I'm actually just interested to see them. So if anybody comes across them, send them my way, even though I've already covered it. So Wuornos murdered 7 men within a period of 12 months. All of these men were motorists between the ages of 40 and 65. Aileen's method of prostitution was she would, instead of just like the normal, how hookers normally do, you know, harlots, how they are, how they normally are like standing on the side of a road where the prostitutes are scantily clad and like the guys go and pick them up, know that they're prostitutes. That wasn't her MO at all. What she would do is she would hitchhike wearing like normal clothes, like normal 1980s clothes or whatever. And then once she was in somebody's truck or car, then she would proposition them for sex. She wouldn't. My point being that these guys didn't know they were picking up a prostitute. They thought they were picking up a hitchhiker. By the way, don't pick up hitchhikers. It's not the 1980s anymore. It's just not worth it. Also, don't hitchhike. What are we doing? Richard Charles Mallory, age 51, was an electronics store owner in Clearwater. He was murdered on November 30th, 1989. And put their pictures up there while we talk about these guys. He's definitely the one that set it all off. And I'll give you my opinion as we go through, but I really think that this guy attacked her. And I think these other men were collateral damage. I think this guy attacked Aileen, and I think that something snapped in her head, and these other 6 men were collateral damage, so to speak. I don't think they were picking up, these other guys were picking up prostitutes. We'll get into it. So he was an electronics store owner where they like sold and repaired electronics in Clearwater, Florida. And he locked up his store. He made his way to Interstate 4 to head towards Volusia County. Wuornos claimed, this part I kind of believe, maybe it's embellished, but I believe something happened, that Mallory beat her, raped her, sodomized her after he drove her to an abandoned area for sexual services. Mallory was Wuornos' first victim. She claimed to kill him in self-defense, but later it became known that Mallory had previously been convicted of rape in Maryland. 2 days after the murder of Volusia County Deputy Sheriff found Mallory's abandoned vehicle. So he had a criminal record of rape and sexual violence towards women going back years. He spent time in prison for it. He was in Florida to start a new life, to get away from all of that. And I don't know if she set him off and then that set her off or whatever, but you know, you put 2 criminals together. Only one of them walked away. On December 13th of that same year, his body was found several miles away in a wooded area. He had been shot several times. 2 bullets were left. 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have been his cause of death, but it wasn't just those 2 bullets. He was also shot a bunch of times. So the next guy is David Andrew Spears, this gentleman here. He was a construction worker in Winter Garden, and he was reported missing on May 19th, 1990. On June 1st, so a few weeks later, 1990, his naked body was found along US 19 in Citrus County. He had been shot 6 times with a .22 caliber pistol. Charles Edmund Karkskadon, age 40, was a part-time rodeo worker. That's a fun job. The date he was murdered was May 31st, 1990. On June 6th, his body was found in Pasco County. He had been shot 9 times, also with a .22. His body had been wrapped up in an electric blanket and was badly decomposed by the time they found him. Here's the thing. Remember how I was telling you how Aileen was not a smart criminal? She decided to take this guy's car and just drive it around as if it was hers. So the car is reported missing, and people saw her driving around in it. So they're starting to get like a idea of who is doing these murders in the Central Florida area. She also pawned a bunch of stuff that belonged to him at a pawn shop using somebody else's ID, but I don't know if you all have ever pawned anything before, but they make you put your thumbprint on the thingamajig when you pawn something. I guess that's for this sort of situation, because anytime I've ever pawned something and went back to pick it up, they don't check my thumbprint. But so I'm guessing it's just for this sort of situation. But they had her thumbprint on file with this pawned stuff from Charles's that was stolen from him. Yeah, she pawned a gun and the car radio that had belonged to him. So Peter Abraham Seams, age 65, was a retired merchant seaman. I can talk today. In June 1990, Seams left Jupiter, Florida for Arkansas. He left Arkansas for Florida. He was going from Arkansas to Florida to pick up his girlfriend and then take her back to Arkansas. This is why I'm thinking he wasn't picking up a prostitute, because if you're going to see your girlfriend, why on earth would you pick up a prostitute when you're almost to her house? You're almost there. Like, he's going to meet his girlfriend to pick her up to bring her back to Arkansas. On July 4th, 1990, his car was found in Orange Springs, Florida. Moore and Wuornos were seen abandoning his car. They're both driving around in these stolen cars from dead people. It's crazy to me that they didn't get caught sooner. Also, Wuornos' handprint was found on the interior door handle. His body was never found. Troy Burris, age 50, was a sausage salesman from Ocala. Not as much fun as a rodeo guy, but still a sausage salesman. On July 30th, 1990, he was reported missing. And on August 4th, 1990, his body was found in a wooded area along State Route 19 in Marion County. He had been shot twice. And if you notice, we have another one to go through, but she's picking up these guys in one place, taking them to another place, and then driving their car around for a few days, pawning their stuff, and then taking their car and abandoning the cars in a third place, like, an hour or 2 hours away. So it's spread all over in different jurisdictions, different counties, all still Central Florida, but all different places. Charles Richard Humphreys, he went by the name Dick, so Dick Humphreys, age 56, was a retired U.S. Air Force major and a former state child abuse investigator, and the former chief of police as well. He was murdered on September 11th, 1990. On September 12th, 1990, his body was found in Marion County. He was fully clothed and had been shot 7 times in the head and torso. This is another reason why I'm saying, this guy was fully clothed. He was not trying to rape her like she claimed at one point. He was fully clothed. I don't think he was picking up a prostitute. I'm pretty sure he just thought he was picking up a hitchhiker. And she attacked him, shot him, head and torso. His car was found in Suwannee County, which is, I think, further north. Walter Antonio, age 62, was a trucker, security guard, and a reserve police officer. November 19th, 1990, Antonio's nearly naked body was found near a remote logging road in Dixie County. He had been shot 4 times. 5 days later, his car was found in Brevard County. On July 4th, 1990, Wuornos and Tyria Moore abandoned Peter Seam's car after they were involved in an accident. Rhonda Bailey, who witnessed the accident, provided the police with a description of the 2 women whom later they made into sketches, and they did a whole campaign. There's the police sketches next to them. So I'm not sure how good these police sketches are. They basically crashed the car, and this woman saw them crash the car, and they just they abandoned the car. They once they first crashed, they started to run away, and then they came back and then started the car and then started to drive it away from there. It was I was on this witness's property that this happened, and it had bent a post, and the car ended up stopping. It broke down, and they abandoned it in a field not too far away. But with that one, they hadn't taken the time to wipe fingerprints. Not that they did a very good job of that anyway. The other one had her whole palm print on the car handle and stuff. But They didn't wipe it down at all. So both of their prints and everything were all over this car. Plus there was eyewitnesses that saw them. Police found some of the victims' belongings at pawn shops. Wuornos' fingerprint was found on a receipt at one of the pawn shops that matched the print that was found in Seam's car. Wuornos had a criminal record in Florida, so her fingerprints were on record. So they matched it up to that. This is how she ends up getting caught, is because of this this car crash. On January 19th, 1991, Wuornos was arrested at the Last Resort Biker Bar in Volusia County on the pretext of an outstanding warrant. She had used a fake name. The fake name was Lori Grody. This is where we start getting into some fun videos. Fun, I say. Videos. There's more stuff happening over here. Before I start this, I want to say hello. I saw a couple people on Twitch. Welcome, Twitch viewers. We don't get many of you. I appreciate you being here. If you like true crime, come back again next week at 4:30 on Sunday, Eastern. And the couple of dozen people, I guess, over on Rumble as well. Thank you for coming on Rumble. I appreciate you. Don't forget, over out there on Rumble, you can do the Rumble rants as well, and the doggos will get some treats. I see Quest Fanning made another donation. Let's take care of that before we get into this video of her getting arrested. It's a fun video. Sorry, that was probably really loud next to the microphone. My bad. Here you go, guys. This is from Quest Fanning. This from Quest. Leia did not want to wake up for that one. She wasn't having it. She did, but she wasn't too sure about that. All right.
There's no choice but to take Aileen into custody.
Oh no. Did I not turn off? Hold on. I think I know what's happening. YouTube has this new thing where if you don't turn off the yeah, I did that already.
Just on the fire and call in a dog. Now this hunt's over with.
He coaxes Aileen outside for a smoke.
We walked out of the last resort bar and they took us both down and threw us on the side of the truck. Hey, what's up?
Joyner plays along.
Yeah, that's it. I ain't got the case. I ain't got no, man. I ain't got no justification.
Joyner is thrown in the back of the squad car with Aileen. He has one last shot at getting her to talk.
What's going on, girl?
I don't know what's going on.
What the they talking about a warrant?
Doing some kind of and I don't know what's going on. And
Who you talking about? What are you talking about?
I don't know what's going on.
I don't
I have no idea.
what's going on either.
Either do I. What the hell? What? Tell me?
You tell me.
Tell me. I don't know. Lie.
I imagine that's what she sounded like when she was hitting that old man with the cane. You could see her temper just snap like that in this video.
Aileen Wuornos gives up nothing. With no incriminating statements from her, the best police can do is book her on the outstanding warrant for carrying a concealed weapon 4 years prior.
So I thought what was interesting about that clip was the the way you could just see her temper just switch on a dime like that. I have a Rumble request that I'm going to fulfill right now. Again, thank you so much, Rumble people, for being here. And I do take your requests very seriously. The terrorist was requested. So I switched Leia out for the terrorist, Ava. And we're going to give them another treat. Ava, somebody on Rumble, Smith loves you. Loves you. Can you do a shake? Can you do a shake? I have it right here. You got to do a shake. Shake. There you go. There's your favorite terrorist. And thank you, Erica, for becoming a monthly supporter on Rumble. I appreciate you so much. Holy cow. We're getting donations from every direction. I got them on YouTube. I got them on Rumble. And I just got another one from Colonel Angus. I should have Ava here more often. She's bringing in the big bucks. Thank you very much for the $20 donation, Colonel Angus. You're the best. We got more good videos to get to, though. So let me cue these up real quick. I got to close some stuff, though, because my computer was struggling to play that video. We don't need Rochester anymore. We don't need that. We don't need that. All right. What are you guys thinking so far about it? This story's really crazy, right? That's Tyria, by the way. We're going to listen to her testimony here in a minute. I lost my notes. Interesting. There they are. So police located more the same day that we just saw Aileen get arrested. She was back in Pennsylvania, which is where she's from. She agreed to elicit a confession from Wuornos. In exchange for immunity from the prosecution, and returned to Florida. The police put her up in a motel under police guidance. She made numerous phone calls to Wuornos, pleading for help in clearing her name. I think that's the wrong video I have queued. Oh, I guess it is the right one. It's this one. My bad. Colonel Angus, I saw it. I said thank you. You're texting me.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
Oh, so real quick. So the police brought her back to Florida and had her call Aileen a bunch of times just to get her to try to confess. And this is the recording of one of those phone calls.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I had to call you early because I didn't know if you were going to listen today or what.
I don't... What the hell's going on, Lee? They've called... They've been up to my parents again. They've got my sister now asking her questions. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Huh. What are they asking your sister questions for?
I don't know. Lee, they're coming after me. I know they are.
No, they're not. Don't listen.
They've got to. Why are they asking so many questions then?
Honey, listen. Do what you gotta do.
I just noticed this, but so Aileen, by the way, Tyra calls Aileen Lee, but she's in court right now, and they didn't even get her Kleenex for in court. It looks like she's got toilet paper from like her prison cell that she has here. That's kind of crazy. Why would you not give this woman some Kleenex? Like, I understand she killed 7 guys, but at least get her a box of, like, I even have a box of tissue handy at all times. In court, I would definitely need a box of tissues.
Do what you gotta do, okay? I'm gonna have to, because I'm not gonna go to jail for something that you did. This isn't fair. My family is a nervous wreck up there. My mom has been calling me all the time. She doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Okay. Do what you gotta do, okay? Alrighty.
What?
I'm not gonna let you go to jail.
You evidently don't love me anymore. You don't trust me or anything. I mean, you're going to let me get in trouble for something that I didn't do?
I said I'm not. Listen, quit crying. Listen.
I can't help it. I'm scared shitless.
I know. I love you a lot.
I don't know whether I should keep on living or if I should...
No, Ty, listen.
What if they don't believe me?
Tyra, listen.
What?
I'm not going to let you go to jail or anything. Listen, if I have to confess, I will.
Okay. Yes. Why the hell did you do this? Why did you do this?
I don't know. Listen, Ty.
What?
I'll probably never be able to see you. You know that?
Yes.
I love you. If I have to confess everything just to keep you from getting in trouble, I will.
Okay.
So don't worry, okay?
Okay.
I love you.
No. Don't do it now. Get it over with.
Right this very moment?
Yes. Get it over with.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
You can
right
call
this
me
very
back
moment.
later.
All right.
All right. Okay, bye.
Did you hear the emotional manipulation in that phone call? It was crazy. Now, keep in mind, Tyra or Tyria or Ty or whatever, both of them go by many names. But she's got police sitting right next to her while this call is going on. And she's like, well, if you loved me, you'd confess. It's just, I know, especially for the last 6, she definitely murdered those guys, right? But I don't like the emotional manipulation. Other manipulation maybe is fine. I'm not sure, but you can see, look at her face right here. This is the first person in her life. Tyra is the first person in Aileen's life that loved her for her. Every single other person who was supposed to love her abused her, except for Tyra. And then Tyra cooperates with the police, I guess, and emotionally manipulates her to take the blame for everything. By the way, Tyra, who was obviously involved, in my opinion, allegedly, was never convicted or charged with any of this stuff. She definitely, if she wasn't there when these things happened, she most definitely was complicit after the fact. With pawning stuff and driving around stolen cars of murdered people and things like that. So, yeah. Ava's knocking on the door to get out now. She was knocking on the door to get in. Now she's knocking on the door. It's a closed door. She's like a cat like that. If there's a closed door, she doesn't allow it. No closed doors. Something much better is happening on the other side of the door at all times. So 3 days after that phone call that we just listened to, on January 16th, 1991, Wuornos confessed to the murders. She claimed the men had tried to rape her, and she killed all 7 of them in self-defense. All right. There's a weird side note here. In November of 1991, Wuornos was legally adopted. Keep in mind, this is like a 40-something-year-old woman. Was legally adopted by a 44-year-old Aileen Wuornos, who saw her photo in a newspaper and went through the paperwork to legally adopt her as her daughter. I bring this up. That's the weird side note. I bring this up because it comes up later. So another part of the story says something about her adoptive mother. I want you guys to understand that this is not her. This is this woman from Florida that saw her picture in the paper and legally adopted her for some reason before her trial. So on to the trial. So on January 14th, 1992, Wuornos went on trial for the murder of Richard Mallory, her first victim. Now, this is the guy who had the record and all of that. The very first one. The prosecution was allowed to introduce Aileen's previous record under Florida's Williams Rule. And I thought I had the Williams Rule pulled up. So, okay, so the Williams Rule, because I didn't know what it was, is based on the holding in Florida state case of Williams versus State, in which relevant evidence of collateral crimes is admissible at a jury trial when it does not go, or when it does not go to prove the bad character or criminal propensity of the defendant, but is used to show motive, intent, knowledge, and modus operandi, or lack of a mistake. So normally you can't bring up somebody's previous record in a trial to show, oh, they're a horrible person. Obviously they did this because they did these other things. That's normally how it is, but not in Florida. In Florida, you can bring it up if it is to, like I said, if it is used to show motive, intent, knowledge, modus operandi, or a lack of a mistake. So you can't just be like, oops, I didn't know that was illegal. Wuornos's defense made efforts during the trial to introduce evidence that Mallory, the victim, was previously convicted for attempted rape in Maryland and served a sentence in a maximum security facility, providing remediation to sexual offenders. Records obtained from the Correctional Institute showed that from 1958 to 1962, Mallory was committed for treatment and observation as a result, resulting from a criminal charge of assault with intent to rape. These records also reflect 8 years of overall treatment from the facility in 1961. It was observed of Mr. Mallory that he possessed strong sociopathic trends. However, the judge refused to allow records to be admitted in court as evidence and denied Wuornos' request for a retrial. So they let her criminal record in, but did not let his criminal record in of sexual assault and rape. On January 27, 1992, Wuornos was convicted of Mallory's murder with the help of Moore's testimony at her sentencing. The doctors for the defense testified that Wuornos was mentally unstable and diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. 4 days later, she was sentenced to death. Here's the testimony. It's an hour and 15 minutes. If you guys want to watch the whole trial, they have the whole trial on this website. I just picked out a little bit of Ty's testimony here to listen.
Where was she and where were you, if you remember? What were you all doing? Just watching TV?
We were sitting on the floor watching TV.
Okay. Was there anything unusual going on at that time, other than just sitting there in an apartment together watching some TV?
No.
Okay. Can you describe her appearance at that time?
She seemed fine.
Is there anything particularly different or the same about her as when you had left her to go to work?
She was the same.
Same basic physical appearance?
Yes.
She told you that there was something that she wanted to tell you.
Correct.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how that conversation began and what transpired?
We were sitting on the floor watching TV, And she just come out and said, I have something to tell you. And I asked her what, and she said that she had shot and killed a man that day.
Did you say anything to her when she told you that?
And I didn't want to believe it. I was probably in awe.
Did you say anything to her? Like, I don't believe you, or what, I don't want to use vulgarity, shitting me? I mean, what's going on here?
I'm sure I probably replied something.
Just answer questions.
Did you ask her anything about what she had just told you, that she had shot a man?
I don't believe I asked her any questions about it. I might have.
So keep in mind that what she's testifying to right here is that the first murder, Mallory, the day of that murder, she knew about the murder. And she's claiming to have nothing to do with any of these murders. And like I said, allegedly, in my opinion, all of that stuff. She wasn't convicted of, she's completely innocent, right? But if she knew about it the very first day of the first murder, she could have prevented 6 other dudes who, by the way, I believe personally were completely innocent except for picking up a hitchhiker. Maybe a couple of them actually were picking up a prostitute. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. But this all could have been prevented with the first guy, who, by the way, was kind of a piece of crap.
Replied something like, I don't believe you, or something along that line.
Did she say anything else at that point?
Later she was telling me that she had put the body in the woods under a piece of rug, and that she had dropped the car off up in Ormond Beach around John Anderson Drive.
Did she tell you that the man she had shot, she had taken his car, and that was the car you used to move with?
Objection, Overruled.
Did she tell you anything about the car in relationship to the man she had shot?
I believe she did at one point.
Was it your understanding, based upon what she was telling you, that it had been the man that had gotten shot, whose car you guys had been in that day?
Yes, it was.
Did she tell you anything about why she shot the man?
No.
Now, during that evening, as this conversation was going...
So that answer was very important too. He asked, did he say anything about why she shot this man? And Ty says no. Now, if I was brutally beaten, and also he goes into, you heard, did she look disheveled? Did she have any injuries? Anything? And she's like, no, she was completely normal. She looked exactly the same as when I saw her earlier in the day. Like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But the point is, if you were brutally beaten and raped by a guy, would you not say this guy was attacking me and I had to kill him in self-defense? When you're confessing to your significant other later that night? And if you're the one being confessed to, would you not have some questions? I think I would have a question or two. I'm pretty sure I'd have a couple of questions if I was in a similar situation.
Going on. Did you continue to watch TV?
Yes, I believe so.
Did the defendant continue to watch TV after she told you she just shot a man and had taken his car? You had been in it?
Objection, Your Honor. Overruled.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I'm trying to understand what is happening in that apartment, in that garage, as you're being told by this defendant that she shot a man. Can you just describe that in your own words?
We were just sitting around watching TV, drinking a few beers. It was
That's
a
when she told you?
typical evening.
Now, when you packed up to move to the Burley Avenue, did you pretty much know what kind of articles you each owned? You've been living together for how long at that point?
At that point, it was approximately 3.5 years.
And did Ms. Wuornos have any articles at that time, that evening, that were not something that you had seen before?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury how you noticed that, you made that observation.
Well, I knew that they didn't belong to us.
Okay, can you describe what you saw?
There's only a few things that I can really remember from the particular occurrence because she had given me a jacket and a scarf. And
Let's talk specifically about what you remember. Don't speculate. Try as best you can. What do you remember seeing, and what do you remember about that evening?
I remember a box with a bunch of papers in it.
Did you look at the papers at all, or see anything, or notice anything about them?
I wasn't really paying.
So they used his car to move hotels or apartments. They were staying in a lot of motels. I don't even want to give them the credit of staying at a hotel because they were all motels, not hotels. But she knew it was the dead guy's car, is what she's saying.
Paying attention, she was going through them and she tried to show me a piece of paper and a picture of somebody, and I didn't want to look at it.
Did she tell you the picture was the man she had shot?
I believe she did.
Were you able to see any type of name or any documentation or personal identification?
I remember seeing the name Richard on a piece of paper that she was going through.
Now, when she was going through these items, can you describe her demeanor? How was she acting?
Just normal, going through stuff, throwing things away and keeping things.
Just kind of sifting through these articles, throwing some that she wanted, some she didn't want?
Right.
Did you see anything else other than just the paperwork she was going through?
I remember a suitcase and a jacket, and there was a big blanket, a comforter. It was brown and tan.
Can you describe whether it was a man or a woman's jacket?
I believe it was a man's jacket. It was a members only brand.
Now, as she's sifting through the
Good old members only. So like I said, this is an hour and 15 minutes worth of testimony. We're not going through the whole thing today, but I wanted you to get an idea of where we're at with Tyra's involvement. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm not telling you anything. All I'm saying is it seems weird to me, and that's it. So on January 27, 1992, Wuornos was convicted of Mallory's murder with the help from Moore's testimony. At her sentencing, psychiatrist said that she's mentally unstable. So, she's got the anti-personality or antisocial disorder and the borderline personality disorder. I just combined those two and made my own disorder. 4 days later, she was sentenced to death. On March 31st, 1992, Wuornos pled no contest to the murders of Charles Humphreys, Troy Burress, David Spears, and she said she wanted to get right with God. Now, the weird part about this is she pled guilty, but she had no plea deal in place. So normally when people plead guilty, it's because they want to get away from having like the death penalty or something like that. But she didn't make a deal before she pled guilty because I believe her lawyer did not know what he was doing personally. He didn't seem like a very good lawyer, in my opinion. And in a lot of people's opinion, actually. Why would you not get something in place with the prosecution to forego the trial for 4 murders? He didn't. This is her going into court to do that plea.
Wuornos was led from Marion County Jail. She gave no indication that she would plead no contest to 3 murder charges, instead talking about dropping her public defenders and hiring private attorney Steve Glazer. But only seconds after being named her attorney, Glazer surprised everyone and told the court that Wuornos wanted to change her plea. With her adoptive mother watching on, the nation...
Yeah, that's the adoptive mother I was talking about. With her adoptive mother watching on, that's why I had to tell you about that woman that legally adopted her as an adult. It's not her actual, we went through her whole childhood with her mom, and then her grandmother adopted her and all that. That's none of these people. These are not, the adoptive mother is not somebody from Michigan. It's some lady in Florida.
First known serial killer pleaded no contest to killing Dick Humphreys and Troy Burress in Marion County and David Spears in Citrus County. Legally, the no contest plea is viewed as a guilty plea, and because there is no plea agreement, Wuornos still faces the death penalty in each case, an unusual legal prospect that Judge Thomas Sweya was obviously aware of as he carefully questioned Wuornos about her decision.
I have made peace with my Lord, and I have asked forgiveness. I am sorry that my acts of self-defense ended up in court like this, but I take full responsibility for my actions. It was them or me. I am sorry for all the pain that my actions have caused. I am prepared to die if you say it is necessary. But I am not.
By pleading guilty, it appeared that Lee Wuornos was in reality hoping for mercy and forgiveness, but that is not what happened.
I sentence you in case number 91-463 to death for the murder of Troy Burris. Case number 91-304, I sentence you to death for the murder of Charles Humphreys. Case number 91-112, Citrus County case number, I sentence you to death for the murder of David Spears.
Thank you. And probably see, I'll be up in heaven while y'all are rotting in hell.
You will handle that, not public defender of the Fifth Circuit to handle that.
Okay, there will be an automatic appeal. You have the right to an appeal. Mr. Glazer, is that going to be handled by you or the
Your
public
wife and
defender?
kids get raped.
I would ask that you would
Right
point
in
the
the
public
ass.
defender's
This is another example of her snapping like this, going from all sweet and nice to crazy bee in a matter of a minute. Not even a minute, a second.
office.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender's office to handle the appeal. There's one other thing that I want to say that I think...
By the way, she was talking to the jury with that last comment. She looked right at the jury and said that.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender's office to handle the appeal. There's one other thing that I want to say that I think needs to be said.
I know I was raped, and you ain't nothing but a bunch of scum.
Therefore, these proceedings are now
Putting
concluded.
somebody who was raped to death, motherfucker.
Crazy. Clinically. Crazy. Could you imagine talking to a judge? I'm surprised she didn't get contempt for that. Personally, I would have held, if I was the judge, I would have held her in contempt for that. That's just me. So on March 31st, 1992, Wuornos pled no contest to those four guys, Charles Humphreys, Troy Burris, David Spears. Or sorry, it's three of them. I can count. Her statement in the court was in part, I wanted to confess to you that Richard Mallory did violently rape me, as I've told you, but these others did not. They only began to start to. On May 15th, 1992, sorry, I just lost everything. There it is. She was given 3 more death sentences. In June of 1992, Wuornos pled guilty to the murder of Charles Karskakian. In November of 1992, she received her 5th death penalty. In February of 1993, Wuornos pled guilty to the murder of Walter Antonio and was sentenced to another death penalty. So we're up to 6 altogether. No charges were brought against her for the murder of Peter Seams, and that's the one whose body was never found. So they just, the state of Florida was happy with 6 death sentences, although it is commonly held belief that she did murder Peter as well. Wuornos told several inconsistent stories about the killing. She claimed initially that all 7 men had either raped or attempted to rape her while she was working as a prostitute. But later she recanted the claim of self-defense, citing robbery and the desire to leave no witnesses for the reason for the murders. During an interview with filmmaker Nick Broomfield, when Wuornos thought the cameras were off, she told him that in fact it was self-defense, but she could not stand to be on death row, where she had already been for 10 years at that point, and that she wanted to die. Now, from what I've seen, she's very manipulative. So I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I'm not sure. This one just it's leaving me with more questions than answers.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say that
this is her statement in the sentencing for those other gentlemen. By the way, we're not. It's like this is another like very long one. I just picked out a little portion of it to watch with you guys.
I have been labeled a serial killer, and I am no serial killer. I've been framed by the law enforcement as a serial killer because of numerous men involved. But what I was a prostitute. And in my prostitution, I happened to deal with a lot of men, at least 200, 250 men a month. And I ran into these men along the way in my prostitution. I do not feel, I was not out there to hurt anyone. I had no intentions of hurting anyone. In my confessions, I stated that 9 times. I stated 37 times self-defense, 39 times that they were raped or beat and then begin to rape and had intentions of killing. And what I did was what anybody else would do. I defended myself, which everybody has the right to defend themselves. And I had no intentions of killing anyone. I would not do that. I'm not that type of person. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that while I've been through this 2.5 weeks in the courtroom, I told you that I was raped, and that is what happened. And that is what happened with all other cases that I'll be involved in and discussing. And these people did a violent attack on me, and I did what I had to do to protect myself. Now, I'd like to point out one other thing, is that the law enforcement has framed me as serial killer purposely for books and movies. And I have been, since I've been incarcerated a year in jail, have gone through a lot of physical and mental abuse, which I felt is being a conspiracy.
I was going to say mental gymnastics, but she's claiming abuse.
Through the law enforcement. And I also believe the law enforcement and the state attorneys have a conspiracy here. And I have to say another thing, for as far as manipulation was talked about yesterday in the courtroom, I believe State Attorney Tanner was the one manipulating the jury, which he had made a whole lot of things up. Things were just made up at the top of his head, were not true, and I felt that he lied right through his teeth. I was up in that stand there, and I did not lie. I was coerced into making my confessions. I was threatened that Tyra Moore would be arrested if I did not talk about the confessions. I was also coerced and threatened and told that if I did not answer their questions the way they wanted me to, their questions, and I did it any other way, that she would be arrested. And the questions that they asked me were strictly to implicate me as a serial killer, when every time I talked about a rape, they cut me off, and they had my mind all messed up, where I was hysterical, I was in trauma, and I was alcohol withdrawing. I have been totally under duress and delirium, and I couldn't tell you what happened anyway. I couldn't remember anything under that stress. All I had in my mind was focused on Tyra, which I was trying to clear Tyra, which Tyra knows it's self-defense, and she's lying through her teeth, telling that she doesn't know anything, even the smallest of things of our life together, 4.5 years, and she does know. She knows it's self-defense, and she's been offered like $500,000 and might be a multimillionaire after this is over, and she's just keeping her mouth shut because she wants money. They have to have a conviction in order to get this money. And
so this is where the conspiracies start spinning. She thinks that she's being railroaded. She thinks that they're trying to drive her crazy on purpose by mistreating her in the prison. She thinks they're poisoning her food to make her sick. She thinks that they knew that she was killing men and just let her clean up the streets, in her words, so that they could sell the rights to a movie, which the movie is called Monster. There's a couple of documentaries as well, but there's a movie that was made with what's her name? Somebody just said it in the Rumble chat. Oh, Charlize Theron. That's right. I just watched that movie yesterday. I like to do all of my research before I watch a movie about it. I did see that movie years ago, and I thought it was a great movie. But then I did this whole research for this episode and watched the movie again. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the media, they lie. So then if you go back and watch that movie again after knowing all of what I told you today, you'll see that movie in a different light for sure.
All I got to say, I'm not a serial killer.
Your Honor, we have some observations. I guess I should go first.
Okay. So I wanted you guys to see her. Why is it not letting me make it small?
Or maybe I could.
Wuornos was incarcerated at the Florida Department of Corrections and Broward Correctional Institute on death row for women. Then she was transported to Florida State Prison for execution. Her appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court was denied in 1996. In a petition, a 2001 petition to the Florida Supreme Court, she stated her intention to dismiss her legal counsel and terminate all pending appeals. Her words, "I killed those men, robbed them as cold as ice, and I do it again too. There's no chance in keeping me alive or anything because I'd kill again. I have hate crawling through my system. I'm so sick of hearing the she's crazy stuff. I've been evaluated so many times. I'm competent, sane, and I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm one who seriously hates human life, and I would kill again." While her attorneys argued that she was not mentally competent to make such a request, Wuornos insisted that she knew what she was doing, and a court-appointed panel of psychiatrists agreed. In 2002, Wuornos began accusing the prison matrons of tainting her food with dirt, saliva, and urine. She said she had overheard conversations among prison personnel trying to get me to these are quotes. It's so hard to read people's quotes when they're speaking, when they're not using, anyway, trying to get me so pushed over the brink by them, I'd wind up committing suicide before execution, and wishing to rape me before my execution. She also complained about the strip searches, her handcuffs being too tight, people kicking her door at night, frequent window checks. I'm not sure what a window, I think that's just when a prison guard comes around and looks in the window to make sure everything's okay. She complained about low water pressure in the prison, mildew on her mattress, and catcalling in the prison. Wuornos threatened to boycott the showers and food trays when certain officers were on duty. In the meantime, my stomach's growling away and I'm taking showers in my sink in the cell. Her attorney stated that Miss Wuornos really just wants to have proper treatment and humane treatment until the day she's executed. So, in the weeks before her execution, remember I told you about Nick Broomfield? He did this documentary. I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube for free. In the weeks before her execution, Wuornos gave a series of interviews with documentarian Nick Broomfield, where she talked about being taken away to meet God and Jesus, the angels, and whatever is beyond the beyond. In her final interview, which we're going to just watch right now, it's very short. She complained about being tortured, the food poisoning. She's talking about sonic pressure being pumped into her cell every time she tries to write something. You'll see. She's obviously not sane. I don't think she should have been executed, not because she didn't kill the guys, but because she was insane. I think that she was not mentally competent to be executed. And I did not think that until I saw this interview and also heard her final statement before they put her to death. I was thinking, like, I don't think that all of her marbles are there. I don't think we should probably... And you guys know me. I am usually all for the death penalty, for sure. When people, kill people like this, usually all for it. I don't think I am in this case. And I changed my mind on this case while researching it. Like, this interview's cuckoo. Oh, you know what? Before we hear her final words, Xena needs some treats from Parson and from Major Victory. Before we do, I gotta leave you on a cliffhanger, so you stick around. Let me give Xena some treats. Hey, Xena. Oh. Hey, Xena. You want a cookie? You want two? We'll give you two. You okay? You want this? You gotta at least sit up. You're so lazy. Do you want more? She wasn't even going to sit up for those. She's a great co-host, by the way. All right, here's the, like I said, when I watched this documentary, by the end of it, I was thinking to myself, I don't know if we should have executed this one. Like, I just don't think, like, I don't know how somebody found her mentally competent, is what I'm saying.
Hi, Aileen. Hi.
You know, I already told you everything, so, you just go ahead and ask me questions, and if I want to answer them, I'll answer them, okay?
Okay. So I guess, I was just wondering how you're going to be, at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm all right. I'm all right with it.
And how?
I'm all right with it, but like I said, remember, let them know.
Just a side note, she should have stayed married to that millionaire long enough to get braces, is all I'm saying. Just long enough to get braces, and then hit him with the cane. Really, just wait and get the braces first.
That I know that the cops knew who I was. After Richard Mallory died, I left prints everywhere, and they covered it up. And let me kill the rest of those guys to turn me into a serial killer. I know they did, because I was no professional serial killer or anything, or murderer, or whatever you want to call it, I wasn't professional at what I was doing.
Eileen,
I did some sloppy work, and I left.
How have you prepared yourself for tomorrow morning?
I'm all right with it. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Hey, I was tortured at BCI. They had the intercom on in the room, and they kept lying that it wasn't on, and they were using sonic pressure on my head since 1997.
Sonic pressure.
And every time I was trying to write something, I think they had some kind of eye in the cell, I'm not sure, but every time I started writing something, it went up higher. So I'm thinking that probably had the TV rigged. The TV or the mirror, something was rigged. They got a huge satellite on the compound. After they put the huge satellite on the compound, it could have been either rigged to the TV set or the mirror or something, because the electrician, when he put the mirror on the wall, he said, doesn't that look like a computer? The back of it, and they stuck it to the wall.
And do you think, did that affect your mind, do you think?
Huh?
Did that affect your mind in some way, the sonic?
It was crushing my head, and they were using sonic pressure. continually. Then when I had 3 meetings with Miss Villacorta on it, every meeting I had, she increased the pressure of the volume of the comm, increased the harassment on the floor, increased the trays being inedible, just increased every bit of my complaints and trashed all grievances. They were trying to make it look like I was crazy at all times, rig up the room with torture. If I said anything about I think their whole plan was to try to make it look like I was totally crazy, and so nobody would believe anything I had to say about anything, and then drive me there if they could. I suffered so bad. I was really struggling to survive. Had a lot of trays that were attempted murder and everything. I had to wash all my food off. And then one day I didn't wash my food off, and I was sick for 3 weeks, almost died.
But you're okay now.
I'm okay. I'm okay. God is going to be there. Jesus Christ is going to be there. All the angels and everything. And, you know, whatever's on the beyond, I think it's going to be more like Star Trek, beaming me up into a space vehicle, man. Then I move on, recolonize to another planet or whatever. But it's whatever's the beyond. I know it's going to be good because I didn't do anything as wrong as they said. I did the right thing. And I saved a lot of people's butts from getting hurt and raped and killed, too.
So are you saying that you killed in self-defense or in cold blood? What do you, because you changed your story. I'm just trying to
What are you talking about? Change story on what?
No, about whether it was self-defense or not.
I'm not going to say, I'm not going to get in depth about my cases, Nick. I'm on my way to the chamber, nothing stopping it. You can believe it or you don't have to believe it. That's up to you, man. Put a big question mark on your film.
Just before we came here, we met with your mother, Diane.
You met with my brother and Diane?
Your mother.
Oh, my mother, Diane, let me tell you something. She plopped me out of her belly, left me with my grandparents, and we never knew her. So tell that damn whore I could give a fuck if she even had me. She had me and left to Texas. And
it's just another.
My mom, my dad.
It's just another example of where you see her snap from one personality to another in an instant. Like all of the amount of footage that I've watched of her speaking where I see her, it's every single time. I'm not just picking these out because she snapped. It's every single interview, every single time she goes from talking sweet and nice to just turning on a dime, just turning.
Barry, Keith, Lori, all of us never saw her ever again, except at funerals. My mom's funeral, my dad's funeral, and my brother's funeral. And if she's at mine, probably be spitting on her. Care less. I don't give a damn about that whore.
Well, she asked you.
I don't know her. I never even knew her.
She asked you for your forgiveness.
She can go to hell. She doesn't have any of my forgiveness. I don't even know her, don't even want to know her. My only interview concerns are about cops letting me kill. So if you don't ask me about that, I'm going to cut this interview. Ask me about the cops.
What more is there to say about the cops? What more do you want to say about the cops?
A lot of stuff. Did you know that they were surveilling me before I killed? And then I knew it?
Like, I really don't think that I think she really believes this. I think is what I'm trying to say. I don't think she's making this up to have a story or an excuse or whatever. All of these things, the things that she was saying about the sonic pressure, the food poisoning, the cops letting her go, I think in her head, she actually believes these things. Now, if I felt that she was making it up to have an excuse, I'd say, yes, put her to death, get her off the planet, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. Goodbye. Bye-bye. But it's not even the consistency. It's the inconsistencies in her stories. And I think that she thinks she's telling the truth right now, which makes me think she's crazy. And that's how I came to my conclusion.
And that was covered up. Did you know there was helicopters dropping down from the sky, deputy sheriff, with decoys picking me up 4 or 5 months before my arrest? It was covered up.
But nonetheless,
Nobody ever asked me these
whether the
questions.
cops were following you or not, Eileen.
Oh, whether the cops were following me or not, Eileen,
okay,
what?
let's say the cops were following you.
Yeah.
Let's say they were following you and they did everything that you're saying they did. Nonetheless, you killed 7 men.
Yes, you
and
did.
I'm asking you, what got you to kill the 7
And
men?
I'm telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
Not everybody is killing 7 people. So there must have been something in you that was getting you to do that.
Oh, you are lost, Nick.
So
I was a
explain-
hitchhiking hooker.
Right.
Right.
Running into trouble. I shoot the guy if I ran into trouble. Physical trouble. The cops knew it. When the physical trouble came along, let her clean the streets, and then we'll pull her in.
But how
That's
come
why.
there was so much physical trouble in because it was all in 1 year. 7 people in 1
Oh
year.
well. Oh well.
But why not say now?
Because I'm out of retaliation for taking my life like this and getting rich off it all these years in total pathological lying. Yeah, thanks a lot. I lost my fucking life because of it. Couldn't even get a fair trial. Couldn't even get a fair investigation or nothing. Couldn't even have my appeals right. You sabotaged my ass, society, and the cops, and the system. A raped woman got executed and was used for books and movies and shit. Ladder climbs, re-election, everything else. I got a big finger in all your faces. Thanks a lot. You're an inhumane bunch of fucking living bastards and bitches, and you're gonna get your asses nuked in the end. And pretty soon it's coming. 2019, Iraq's supposed to hit you anyhow. You're all gonna get nuked. You don't take
Indeed, Iraq did not hit us in 2019.
fucking human life like this and just sabotage and rip it apart like Jesus on the cross and say thanks a lot for all the fucking money I made off of you. And not care about a human being and the truth being told. Now I know what Jesus was going through. They've been trying to tell the truth, and I keep getting it stepped on. Concerned about if I was raped, I'm not giving you book and movie info. I'm giving you info for investigations and stuff, and that's it. We're gonna have to cut this interview, Nick. I'm not going to go into any more detail. I'm leaving. I'm glad. Thanks a lot, society, for railroading my ass. Okay, let's go.
All right, let's go.
You dirty son of a bitches. Took a raped woman and sent her to, well, you sent her to God, but you're going to get your nuke someday soon.
Hey, Eileen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Society, I think, thanks a lot.
So, I believe she believes herself. Sorry, I just had a sneezing attack. I got to the mute button in time. So that interview was the day before she was put to death in Florida. And just to bring this episode to a close, we have a little bit of the day, the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, something like that. They put her to death.
Time ticking away for serial killer Aileen Wuornos.
Her date with death set for about 90 minutes from now. 7's Patrick Frazier is live in Rayford as her sentence is about to be carried out. Good morning, Patrick.
Christine, in an hour and a half exactly, Aileen Wuornos will be injected with a poison. Within about 2 minutes, she will begin to stop breathing. Now, it's tough to say who will be happier that she is dying, the families of the victims she brutally murdered or Aileen Wuornos.
We did wake her up at 5:30. She requested a towel and washcloth to to wash her face and freshen up. And she is very calm this morning, not as talkative as she has been in the past.
It was hoped Aileen would confess all to a priest before execution, but she remained angry and defiant to the very end. Aileen sent the priest packing and then knelt down and prayed for her victims, believing they might be too evil to be accepted by God.
Talk about dying and...
She didn't talk about dying at all.
What about remorse?
And it was all she wanted to do was to talk about the police. And I just formed the impression that here was somebody who has obviously lost her mind, has totally lost touch with reality, and we're executing a person who's mad. And I don't really know what kind of message that gives. I found it very disturbing.
And we watched her skin turn from a sort of a pale flesh color to a grayish blue tones.
Is everybody ready? Good.
I'm ready.
At 9:47 this morning, the case of the state of Florida versus Aileen Wuornos was carried out at Florida State Prison in a very professional and humane manner. During Aileen Wuornos' brief 1-minute final statement, she alluded to the fact that she would be sailing away with the Rock. She'll be back with Jesus Christ, like on Independence Day, on June 6th, just like the movie, on the big mother ship. I'll be back, I'll be back.
So that was it. That was her last words. Like I said, I don't think that this was a person of sound mind. Like dude just said, her last words were, yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock. I will be back, like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie. Big mothership and all. I'll be back, I'll be back. That's not a sane person's last words. So she died from lethal injection on October 9, 2002 at 9:47 a.m. She hasn't been back yet. We are going to keep an eye out. I'm not sure if she meant June 6th of that year or a year. Maybe it's this coming up year. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, thank you all very much for coming. Zena, come say goodnight to the people. Come here. Come on. She decided not to stay in her spot. Come on. From Zena and I to you guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I don't need kisses, though. Nope. Coming up next week, because it is Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to have a Crime Land episode before the Super Bowl at 4:30 Eastern. Zena and I will. If somebody wants to join me, just let me know. You can come up as well. And all right, hop down. Thank you. So we'll do a Crime Land episode next Sunday. And then the week after that, I have Big Daddy Frank coming on. Frank from the Let's Be Frank YouTube channel is coming on to talk about Jessica Lunsford and the wonderful work that Jessica Lunsford's dad has done to prevent child predators from being on the street since Jessica's passing. We also have, we're going to have to schedule Friday Night Crime and Game Night. I'm not sure which weekend we're going to do it yet. I'll know more tomorrow. I'm having a tiny procedure done tomorrow. So if you're the praying type, please just say a little prayer that everything goes well. And after that, we're going to see how the healing goes. And we will decide if we're going to do the Friday Night Crime and Game Night this coming up weekend or if it will be the following weekend after that. We're going to have to make a game time decision, but I'll let you guys know sometime mid next week when that'll be happening. We have the DC Sniper case coming up. We have Richard Mears coming up. And that's the stuff that I'm working on right now. So remember, every weekend, 4:30 Eastern on Sundays, I'm here live And please come back and join me sometime. I appreciate you all. Have a good night, guys. Bye.